Hello, this is part 2 of playing shakers with the cajon. I've been going over some exercises to develop development of skill and independence of playing a shaker with the cajon. Now, some of this stuff is a review for this particular channel, and even though I didn't use a cajon, there's similar exercises that I've done. I'll post a link in the description for that playlist of videos of shakers, and you can go through there and you can view where I talk about playing the shakers with a drum, basically, whether it be a djembe or a conga or a cajon. All right, now in the previous episode I was talking about playing eighth notes. So if this is the tempo and we're talking about 4/4, all right, and then here's the tempo 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So these are what we talked about in the previous episode. We're just playing straight eighth notes, okay, with the cajon. Now let me back up real quick and preface that this whole idea here in this video is mainly for those that are playing in a contemporary pop or rock type of context, all right? And right now we're just talking about time signature 4/4, okay? But still, this is an exercise. These are exercises to develop playing in this context, although it may help you with other genres as well. All right, so back to what we were talking about. If I'm playing, like in the previous episode, I just talked about playing eighth notes with a basic rock style beat, but really we're just differentiating the bass and the snare. So 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And then we added, if you remember, if you watched the previous episode, we added a bass on the end of 1. So 1 and 2, 3, 4. Then we moved that, instead of playing it up front on the 1 and the end of 1, we did it on the 3 and we added the extra bass on the end of 3. So instead of going, we now shifted it later to, okay, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now, so the idea of this and the reason that I put this together as an exercise is because when you're playing now on the and, in between where my hands going forward with the shaker, now the hands are doing this motion where it's almost like they're going in opposite directions. And that's difficult for some who don't play a lot of shakers with the cajon, because it's a coordination issue. Yes, your hands here is doing something different than your other hand, but also instead of doing this, moving in the same motion, now we're doing this motion here. Okay, see that? We're going in opposite directions and having to do them in opposite directions right on beat. That's a difficult thing for some who are not yet at that level, okay? So now, so that was the reason there before in the previous episode in the exercise to help develop that. But now what we're going to do is play 16th note shakers. Okay, which is different than 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8th. 16th. Okay, so switching between those two. Now, to put that 16th note shaker with my right hand here. Now, you can do it opposite if you're right-handed. I advocate working on both hands, okay? Now, so here we go. Really slow, playing the 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and all right, now that's what we're gonna play, and we're gonna play the bass on the 1, snare on 2, bass on the 3rd beat, snare on the 4th beat. If you notice, my hand is going in opposite directions. That's so that you as the viewer can tell where my hands are lining up together, okay? All right, so if we get faster, we're not doing this, right? We're not doing that. That's just for the slowing down, and you can see where my hands are going so that you can play along with me, practice along with me. So here we go, all right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ready, go. 1 E and, or ready, go. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and again 1 E and 2 E and bass, snare, and stop. Okay, now so we have the bass and the snares, all of the hits playing on the numbers. But what if we do like the previous episode? Now we want to add another bass note on the and of 1. 1 E and, the and that comes after the 1. All right, so notice that I'm going to come down here, and I'm also going to come down when I go on the and. Now here's the difference between this and the previous where we do eighth notes. When I played on the and of 1 and, it was going in the opposite direction. But when I play 16th notes, that doesn't happen. I'm still playing all forward if I'm playing this style of groove or this rhythm or this pattern. Okay, 1 E and, or 1 E and 2 3 4. Notice that it's okay coming down together. That's different than if I'm playing an eighth note pattern here. All right, now it's good to be able to do both. All right, so here we go. Now let's put the and of 1, the extra bass note. Right, ready? Here we go. Slowing it back down. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and now E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 again. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Now at full speed, or more normal, or it's a normal, typical tempo for a song that may be in this genre would be like this. I'll add that swinging of the hand so you can see what's happening. Okay, but it is the same thing as this, slowed down. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. All right, now if we want to shift the extra bass note further along in the pattern after beat 3, then it's the same thing, we just shift it later. So for instance, 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. I skipped it. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. So you notice all I did was shift it later on. Now we can have two bass notes as well on after the 1 and after the 3. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and now you just have a basic. Okay, so at full tempo. So now if you practice them with just 1 and 2, now you can mix it up. And then you can have a basic rock pattern that has some variation. Right? Okay, so it's essentially you're playing the pattern, but going really slow. You're now working on having that skill, that ability to do that. And then if you want to shift the snare to different places, instead of it being on the second beat and the fourth beat, you can do that as well. Let's say we play the snare on the and of 2. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4. So you can practice by counting and placing the shaker where it needs to be on all of the notes. 1 E and 2 E and then instead of playing that snare there, play it on the and of 2. You can move all of the different rhythms around in different places and practice them. Perhaps practice just one note at a time. Practice playing on a bass note on the and of 3. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and practice playing on an E. 1 E and 2 E and see what the snares sound like on the E. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and now you notice that when I say E, it is going in the opposite direction. And that is actually that 16th note, okay? E. 1 E and so this is just a couple ways of practicing and developing playing the shaker with the 16th note pattern and the cajon on a basic 2 and 4 beat, and also beginning to add some variation, right? Playing the basses, playing the bass notes in different places, the snares in different places. It's a methodical, strategic way of developing this independence. And not only independence, but now incorporating counting if you're not doing it already. And that's a great tool for your toolbox to learn new rhythms or to learn where a particular accent in a song is landing, especially when it's new and it's a little more difficult and you're having a hard time nailing that feel of the song. Maybe you just need to play the song and count while that's happening, right? And so the song's playing and you're like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and or 1, 2. Oh, it's between the numbers. Okay, 1 and 2 and well, it's in between the ones and the ands. 1 E and oh, it was on the It was on the of 2 or the of 1. 1 E and right? The last 16th note before we went into the next number. It seems complex if you've never done this before, but learning how to count is really, it can just be intimidating and that's it, but it shouldn't be. It's very simple and it will help you to get to that next level. If that is you and you find yourself intimidated by this counting thing, but you want to learn more and you feel that this would really help me, comment below. I'd love to hear from you, and this will help me to know, give me feedback as well of who the audience is, who I'm talking to, and who I can help in creating content such as in this manner in the future. All right, God bless you. Thanks again for watching. Have a smile upon you, and I'll see you soon.